You know, Vortex, I never wanted to put myself out there in this way. I really didn't. People have always told me to, but I just was so afraid to. And I know that I'm a really paranoid person. Like, that's part of it. That's part of the schizophrenic experience. And that's okay. That's okay that that's part of my perception, you know? And if you look at this world, it's like, why wouldn't you be paranoid? I realize, though, that can be very detrimental. Not only to, you know, my ability to connect with people, but, you know, obviously I'm not a very trusting person. And you'd be surprised, like the shit that I put on the internet, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't mean anything to me. You know, like if I have a conversation with a total stranger and it's a really awesome conversation, like that's cool, but I think that like more normal people are like more impacted by things than it's weird because like the stuff that I am impacted by versus the stuff that you think I would be impacted by is like ridiculous. I mean, I guess it seems ridiculous to you know, outsiders, but yeah. Any criticism of me, I usually understand like why. Like, people look at me that way, or people, you know, they think that I'm just, like, so absurd, and, like, why would you put that on the internet? Why would you think that this perspective is the right one? Well, I have a natural aversion to, like, anything that is, like, publicly accepted, okay? It's, like, kind of obvious to me that people just kind of go along with things. You know, they go along with things because they are too afraid not to, I think. Because they think that they're not going to be liked as much, or people are going to think they're weird, or people are just going to be, like, ugly to them because they don't. And, I mean, it's simple stuff, too. It's like, when I used to go to AA meetings, like, it doesn't have to be, like, super political, like, you know, shots. It doesn't have to be like that. It could just be, like, you're in a group of people, and the whole group thinks one thing, and you say, are you sure? And that whole group, like, just turns on you. And I've had this experience enough times in public school. I've seen this happen. Like, I'll say something at an AA meeting, and people, like, hate me for it. Because I'm saying, like, no, alcoholism is not a disease. I don't think mental illness is a disease. Like, the way that we look at things is, it's due to this, like, Western ideology, as I call it, that demands to have the answers to everything. And it's very, like, anti-God, you know, because maybe we're not supposed to have the answers to everything. Maybe we're supposed to just trust our Creator. And if we do that, the answer will be available to us. Like, we'll just be on the right path, you know, and we don't have to worry about that. And I just think that a lot of people don't have that kind of mindset. Well, I've always had that mindset, and I think that that's why I've always been taken care of. And there have been situations, like really, really bad situations that I put myself in, and I got out of it. And I don't know if that's because, like, oh, God saved me, or maybe I just got lucky. I mean, I choose to believe in the former rather than the latter. People that choose to believe in the latter, you know, they tend to be, you know, very lost. And so anytime that, you know, something bad is pushed in society, like, they just go along with it because they think that, you know, well, everybody else is, so what's the big deal? You know, and I get that, like, from their perspective, like, if I take myself out of it, I pretend you're not schizophrenic, Amy, okay? And I just pretend that I'm, like, just, I guess, like your average person that watches football and doesn't know it's rigged, okay? Your average person that watches the assassination attempt and doesn't know that that was, you know, part of it, part of the show. That's why nobody freaked out. I watched it, you know, because people kept telling me, did you watch it? Did you watch? Because I have got, like, Trump-supporting friends, like, hardcore Trump-supporting friends. And they're like, oh, he was protected by God. I'm like, are you sure about that? Is that why, like, none of his supporters, like, ducked or anything? Like, you think, like, if shots were being fired in an arena or something, like, any area, if you hear shots being fired, wouldn't you fucking leave? Anyway, whatever. I don't care. Like, I told him, yeah, I think this is all rigged. I think that, like, this is all part of the show, and, you know, they just think I'm nuts. I'm fine with people thinking I'm nuts. Like, I think they're nuts because they just take everything at face value. They saw it on the TV, therefore it happened. Oh, yeah, I want to show y'all. Hold on 1 second, Vortex. I did some more posters. Yeah, I did like 21 posters. I'm doing more of them. It says, crazy people saved my life. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for crazy people. And they were all hated, so. And everybody thought that they were out of their mind and stupid, and the way that they carried themselves didn't make any sense. So, you know, those are the people that I look up to. Gay rights were never about gays. Okay? They weren't. That's why most homosexuals don't get married, because that's not what they want. Not to say that some of them don't, but the ones that get married are the ones that have been in a relationship for a long time. And so they actually believe in, like, the monogamous aspect of a relationship. I don't know many gay people that do. But, yeah, it's part of the agenda. Just like women's rights were never about women. Okay? They were about flip-flopping society. I don't know if I showed you all this one. I think I did a video when I was working on this one. Or maybe I did show you. Whatever. You vote with your pocketbook. This will always be true. But people think that you're a bad person if you don't vote. And the reason why they think you're a bad person if you don't vote is because, like, you're not subjecting yourself to the system, so you don't really care what happens. That couldn't be further from the truth. Every single person I know that doesn't vote is too busy, like, trying to better their life, rather than thinking that pressing a button is going to better the country when it's all about the script. Like, we don't have a say. They decide. I mean, what's so funny about these Trump supporters is that he proved that what I just said is true. They decide. They, the powers that be, okay, they decide. People that run the world, they decide what happens in the country. They decide what the government does, okay? If we avoid it as much as we possibly can, and we don't put our money into things that don't make logical sense, okay? People don't want to change their habits. You know, like when Netflix started pushing that that cuties thing that was like obviously, you know, like child grooming. It's like there were a bunch of people that were like, fuck Netflix, I'm canceling my account. You know, that should happen. You know, my dad, his friend, hello, he fought in Vietnam, and whenever all of the NFL players started to kneel during the national anthem, he stopped watching football games. Like, if people realize, okay, I have the power to not go along with things I don't agree with, rather than just complain on Twitter. I mean, I've always known that this country's rigged and that it's a big old lie that we have any kind of say in the direction that our country goes. So that's why I didn't go to these rallies involving, you know, like the Stop the Steal, because it just went along with my original idea of this country and how we're constantly being manipulated. And of course, the people that don't want to see that are going to get really mad and just call you crazy and stupid because you believe that. Like, they're just going to say, well, you're psychotic. Okay, I'm whatever you want me to be, obviously. Okay, we have all been lied to. Now, if that ain't something to bond over, right, good luck getting them to realize that shit. Because, you know, it's something I've noticed with race especially. You know, black people love to get on their fucking soapbox and whine about how white people have had it so easy, and that's just not fucking true. Some white people. And I know that, like, there has been, like, a lot of discrimination against blacks and against all of the races, but if people think that that's for the sole purpose of, like, you know, just oppressing people of color, but, like, white people are totally fine with that. I mean, obviously, I would say that they're not. I mean, you see all these white liberals, like, obviously they're not fine with it. Now, I think that a lot of it has to do with their ego. A lot of it has to do with their narcissism. But I don't think that's true at all. Like, when slavery was happening, there were plenty of white people that spoke out against it. And I do think that John Brown, that was probably a psyop too. He was a Freemason. But yeah, they don't want us to bond over the fact that we've been lied to. So if they lie about black history, what makes you think they haven't lied about white history? What makes you think that, like, there are things that white people have done or not done, and they want to convince people of that narrative? You know? The point is that they're controlling things. So they're not just controlling black people. They're not just controlling this concept of race, okay? They're controlling everything. Okay. Question whatever is popular. Exactly. Okay. I really like this one because you can tell my marker was running out. I started with a purple marker and then I added green to it, which makes sense because feminism is disgusting. It makes me sick to my stomach. Women are victims of feminism. Okay, since women want to be victims so bad, I'll give them that one. And it's unfortunate that they don't understand that they're being just as manipulated through that as they would be being subservient to their husband, you know? I mean, it's kind of weird that they don't want to be subservient to one man, but they're willing to be subservient to their psychiatrist, they're willing to be subservient to their therapist, they're willing to be subservient to their college professor and all of their twatbot friends and political correctness and all that. I mean, if you don't want to submit to a guy, that's fine. But you don't have to submit to all these other things in order to not submit to a guy. Anyway, you are lucky if you know yourself. This is my favorite one so far. Not just because of the message, but also because of the colors. But yeah, people don't actually know you. You know, like, I think that the internet has definitely turned up the narcissism so that people think that they know things that they don't know. And you can say that about ideas. You can say that about, like, we have certain concepts of things, and maybe those concepts are wrong. And all it takes is the power of suggestion, you know? But if people make their minds up about you, like, why bother? You know? Like, you're not going to convince them otherwise. And it's not your responsibility, you know? I heard this a long time ago at a meeting, that what other people think of me is none of my business. And it's funny because, like, I hated that saying at the time, and I didn't understand it. And it really bothered me because, you know, I did care a lot about what people thought. But the thing is, like, it's one thing to, like, consider what other people think, and it's another thing to, like, change your behavior so that they like you, or they pretend to like you, you know? And yeah, what's crazy about the internet, and what's crazy about, you know, just human beings in general, is that, like, they have ideas of people, places, and things. You know, you definitely see this with America. You definitely see this with Donald Trump. Okay, they have an idea of somebody, and that's fixed in their mind, and they're obsessed with certain ideas. They're obsessed with certain aspects of that. And so any other aspect that goes against this idea, they're probably not going to pay any attention to or listen to, because that's going to make them wrong. Narcissist. Okay? They will choose swine every time. That's America, okay? That's America. Just look at how fat they are. You can't deny that. You can't deny that. Like, Americans are fucking pigs, and that is how the rest of the world sees us. Okay? They do it because they hate themselves. Contrary to, like, whatever concepts people have of me, it's like, I actually love myself a lot. I mean, I didn't used to, though. I mean, you want proof? Look. Look! I got a Freemason tattoo. But also, I have these cuts. That was the 7th grade, though. But, like, the more that I just started to accept the way that I am, and, like, that my brain is, like, weird, you know, I care less and less what people have to say about it. Because, first of all, what I just said, what other people think of me is none of my business, right? But, like, if they're trying to make it my business, like, obviously, like, that's a you problem, as Lauren would say. So it's like, if you can't just accept the fact that other people live their lives differently, and it's like, you see this so much with sexual preference. You know, a lot of people, they can't accept the fact that gay people are gay, and it's like, you can keep, like, shaking your fist at them, and it's not going to change them. It's not going to make them not lick their boyfriend's butthole. It just won't. It doesn't matter, like, how many, you know, parts of the scripture you recite, they're still going to do that. Because they don't care. Okay? I mean, I'm not saying they're bad because of that. I'm not really, like, trying to interject any kind of religious or political opinion on that subject. But what I'm saying is that, like, they don't care. They're still going to live their life like that. You know? But speaking of that, everyone on the internet is a woman. So the internet was here to feminize society and weaken them and turn them into a bunch of docile slaves, okay, that will defend to the ends of the earth why slavery is awesome, okay? So, and you cannot deny this. You cannot go to any public place and deny that people are slaves to their phones, okay? Always do the opposite. Okay. This is about my sentiment towards romance, as well as just sexual intercourse, And contrary to what people might think, I have not just had bad sex, okay? I've had some pretty good sex. And I've been in love. I've been happy in a relationship for like, a week and a half. But like, I don't know. I think the reason why I tried to be in a relationship is because I felt like that was something I was supposed to do. And then, I got attached to the guy and I actually did have feelings for him. But it's like the same thing would always happen to me in my brain where I would just go somewhere else. And I'm like, it's not fair to do that to somebody. But, yeah, I do think that fucking is a complete waste of time. It just seems like a degenerate activity. But I understand why people do it, because it feels good and you connect with another person. Like, hopefully that's what's happening, But if you're procreating, that's one thing. If you're married, that's better than not being married. But it just seems like most people just fuck because they want physical pleasure. And I just think that that's really hedonistic. But like I said, they're going to keep fucking, right? They're going to keep fucking. So it doesn't matter. I can make these posters and it doesn't matter. But it matters to me because it makes me feel better. Like when I make something, and even if people don't like it or they don't agree with it or they think I'm wrong, it doesn't fucking matter because I still think I'm right. Okay? So, I'm going to leave the biblical ones for last. Leave the best for last. Okay? Social media is psycho-illogical sugar. Okay? So it doesn't make sense to consume sugar because sugar tricks your brain. So you got to have more of it, Porn does the same thing. That's why, I've heard this from so many people, and I know from my own personal experience with porn that when you come, it's a completely different thing. It's like a robot come, okay? And I mean, I hear this from men, especially. They say that like when they jizz after they watch some pornographic video, it's just not the same as like coming in the natural way. Like whether they're actually having sexual intercourse or, they're masturbating, they say like, yeah, it's a completely different thing. And so you have all these people that are totally hooked on jerking off or, playing with themselves if you're a lady, okay? And they're hooked on something that makes them more and more of a robot, okay? So social media is essentially doing the same exact thing. But it's socially acceptable. It's a form of entertainment. And it's a great way to find information, Like there are a lot of really good informative videos. Smart people would probably rather watch something that is informative than something that's just entertaining. I mean, I don't know. I just don't get entertainment out of, mind-numbing stuff. I would rather be entertained by, like, filling my brain with information, But that's just me. But yeah, it's like, just like sugar, just like porn, it just trains you to keep wanting more. And it's never satisfiable, And if you avoid it, if you avoid social media, if you avoid porn, if you avoid sugar, and then you try to go back to it, you'll realize how destructive it is if you took a break. But, I know that impulse control is not your forte. Anyway, please stop rapture watching. Okay, this is for my Protestant friends as well as my Sola Scriptura friends. Okay, they want us to think that it's the end of the world. But, they're really pushing that Book of Revelation stuff, though, especially with this recent assassination attempt. So, the people that run the world read the Bible. Okay? Remember that. Remember that. Speaking of that, what happens on the TV only happens on the TV. But all the people watching the TV think that it's real. And they get really, really mad when you don't think it's real. Okay? So the devil works in obvious ways, but I guess not so obvious to most of the people in this country. Okay. Now this is from Ecclesiastes. The wise man's eyes are in his head. Very, very true. That means that you have to be self-aware in order to be a wise person. Self-awareness doesn't mean worrying about what other people think. Self-awareness is more about what you think, you know? Like, I've heard it many times where people be like, who's going to know that you did that? Who cares that you did that? You know, well, I mean, I believe in God, so I know that God sees it, but I care because I see myself do things that are wrong, and I have to remember that I did those wrong things. You know, so obviously you don't have a conscience. Goodbye. Goodbye, Satan affiliate. Goodbye. So that's a really important thing to remember. That, yeah, if you want wisdom, you really have to look within yourself, and you really have to be willing to feel like shit, you know? And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't want to do. That's why the 12-step program, most people don't look forward to doing the 4th step, which is all about taking a personal inventory of oneself. You know, I couldn't wait to do that shit. But, yeah, I guess there's something wrong with me, right? The candle of the wicked shall be put out. So, I think about this all the time. Because there are plenty of wicked people in the world. And I have to wonder, like, how it's going to happen. But I'm just going to let God take care of it. I'm not going to worry about it. I don't want to get into that future. He that is upright in the way is an abomination to the wicked. So if you're trying to do the right thing, there are going to be a lot of people that insist on doing the wrong thing. They're trying to bring your ass down. And you know who you are. If a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked. And this is why I don't trust America, and this is why I don't trust governments, and this is why I don't trust systems, and this is why I'm a proud schizophrenic. Not that it was my choice to be in foster care and adopted and have really controlling parents that insisted that I do everything their way, okay? Not complaining about them because they're good. You can be good people and still do the wrong thing. And you can be bad people and still do the right thing. You know? So, it's important to see that difference. And that just because, you know, if your parents screw you up, forgive them. Because they're still your parents, okay? And you're supposed to honor your father and your mother. And so, the best way that you can honor them is by trying to live your life in a way that not necessarily pleases them, but you gotta be the best person that you can be, okay? And they'll see that. They will. I mean, my dad definitely has. My dad has definitely changed his tune about me. And we used to have major issues, but we don't anymore because we worked it out, you know? Because I was willing to, well, I checked myself into a psych ward, but, you know, I think that kind of impressed him that I was, I know I'm still crazy, you don't have to tell me, I think that impressed him because he was like, oh, wow, she does have a lot of self-awareness if she realized that she was, like, on the brink or whatever. I really wasn't, I just needed to get out of work. But anyway, yeah. I watched him transform because I was willing to forgive him. And, you know, a lot of people, they don't know what they're doing. Like, they don't have any idea that, you know, what they're saying and doing is hurtful. And then, you know, other people do. And, yeah, that's a good distinction to make. But anyway, I just want to show you all those posters. But I'm going to go. Bye.